Hey, we're back on the aggregate here. We've got Jody Chocolate Thunder, who is holding an original authentic brick from the old Grant Gymnasium before they remodeled that.
And 1923, baby.
1923. For those that remember, there was a standard gym and an old gym that made the Boston Garden look like it was made from aliens, and it was futuristic. It was so old and nasty. But they've since remodeled it, and Jody's got one of the original bricks, and his daughter bought that for him. That was a nice gift for you. Was that like Father's Day or Christmas or anything like that?
No, it was when they were destroying it, and that was the year Grant actually moved to Marshall, the old Marshall High School. Mm-hmm. So they could, refurbish everything. And so they were like selling them. And so Haven just went ahead and bought one and told me she had a surprise for him. I was like, oh, all right. I thought it was like a shirt or something like that, or a pair of shoes. And when she showed me, I was like going, wow. So I was like, yeah, piece of history.
Yeah. And you're wearing your Grant shirt too, to commemorate it as well. This is a Grant High School show. We all three of us went there. It was good times. We were all there at the same time too, for 1 year. Big Mixx, how you doing today?
Doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. It's been a long time. Matter of fact, last time that the three of us were together, Luka Doncic had just got traded to the Lakers, and we were talking about how we thought that's going to go now. Now he's been in, 10 or 11 games, and he's had a real slow start, started to get his legs under him a little bit, but still – looking at his stats are about as low as they've been since his rookie year, which, I guess would be expected. He's playing with LeBron James. He's playing with Austin Reeves, a couple ball dominant. He's been out of action since Christmas and just back now. So, Jody, let's start with you. How do you think the Luka experiment's going?
It's going okay. I think they might pose a problem when it really counts in postseason. I know it makes LeBron feel good because now he doesn't have to be that guy that brings up the court. He can kind of, I wouldn't say relax. It's probably not the good word to use, but I think he can be able to kind of like get to a corner, or he can post up somebody without worrying about that. Because last time we had this show, we talked about that. The last time LeBron didn't have to be the primary ball handler, he was with Kyrie in Cleveland. So he just opens up another dynamic for LeBron. And then, Luka, I mean, which one do you guard, So I was going to say, Luka's not injury prone, but here we are, right? But at least he came back. At least he didn't play like one game like AD did and went back on the injury list. So,
yeah, they look pretty smart with that trade. They traded away AD, and he didn't even last one whole game before Mr. Glass broke himself.
Right. But he did have a good game, though, but
yeah, he was dominating, but that's AD, right? Dominates when he plays, but you never know when you're going to get him.
Right. So I think they're going to pose a real problem come postseason.
Yeah, they might want to be a team that you don't play. BJ, what do you think about Luka and LeBron together?
It's kind of going how I thought it would go. I mean, of course, Luka has a dip in stats. You're going to have that in any transition. The sample size is too small for that to make any difference. But what I've watched a couple of games, and what I've seen is that when Luka and LeBron are both on the court, it seems, I don't know if they decide this or if it just comes naturally, but one of them will take a step back, and that second, the entire offense grinds to a halt, and they just watch one person, sort of the stagnation. There's not as much passing. There's not as much player movement as when just one of them's in the game, I noticed. And then when you have both of them on the floor, you've got defensive liabilities on two sides of the floor. They target Luka for pick and rolls constantly because he has no lateral quickness. I think it's going okay. Time will tell, but Luka's conditioning, and I don't know that he's made it healthy all the way through like the second series of a playoffs.
Well, last year they went to the finals, so that was kind of his breakthrough year. I would say, yeah, Luka's getting hunted just to kind of playoff both of your guys a couple points there. LeBron's defense has elevated. If you watch him play defense now, because he doesn't have to exert himself as much offensively, all of a sudden he's back to playing old school LeBron defense. And at 40 years old, it's amazing that he's doing what he's doing on the defensive end. I do believe that sometimes they do the your turn, my turn. They'll also do that with Austin Reeves too, because the emergence of Austin Reeves, he's kind of like their third leg of their tripod. And sometimes it grinds to a halt. Sometimes it looks really good. LeBron will backdoor and Luka will throw him a lob or some kind of pass, and it looks really good. They haven't figured out how to do that consistently yet. And their offense isn't great, but they are the number one defense in the league right now, which is really, really weird because they don't have a rim protector. I mean, they kind of do, but they don't have – they're just packing the key. And JJ Redick said, hey, just pack the key and we'll run people off the line and make them hit three-pointers. And it's working so far, and they're hiding Luka. But, he's definitely getting hunted. Jody, you look like you wanted to say something.
Well, I was going to say, on the flip side of that trade, I know this is a Lakers segment, but on the flip side of that trade, have you seen how Kyrie plays now since Luka left?
Well, he played great when the Lakers played against Dallas. He's playing really free, and he's back to being one of the best players in the league.
It goes to show you that with some players, just because you stack an all-star with another all-star doesn't always mean, especially when you get two ball dominant, because then it's like, okay, I think that might create friction, whether people want to say that or not. Sometimes it can work. I mean, it worked with the Warriors with KD and Steph, but, after a while, it ran its course, but they got what they needed. They squeezed as much juice of that orange they could and got 2 championships with that. So,
yeah, I think the other thing with Kyrie has to do more. They've been injured, not just AD being out, but they've had a couple other players that have been out, and Kyrie's just had to do more. But that's what big-time players do is they step up. The last thing that popped into my mind about the Luka LeBron stuff was – they're getting a lot of easy buckets down court. If you've watched, LeBron leaks out for 2 or 3 cherry pick buckets a game now.
He doesn't cross half court. He doesn't. Yeah. He honestly doesn't cross half court.
He plays
especially
like
if he has a foul call go against him.
3-point line to 3-point line, baby. That's all you got to play. But there's been some long passes, and Luka's a really good quarterback, and will get that ball down court, and and LeBron is definitely feeling his legs under him, which is scary because you thought, okay, maybe this year and maybe one more year for LeBron. But if his minutes are getting chopped down, if he's only playing low 30s a game in minutes, boy, Luka could take extend LeBron's career for a couple years. Which how far is he going to put all these records out of reach? To where somebody's going to have to play 25 years and average 25 points to catch him. It's interesting, and we'll see how it goes. They've moved up the championship odds. The Lakers have moved up. They are the fourth highest odds now to win the championship behind the Celtics, the Thunder, and the Cavs, which is really interesting. Big Mix, what do you think the Lakers' chances are in the West?
They could make it to the Western Conference Finals, but I don't see them making it to the big game. I just don't. I think that they lost some depth after they made this trade, and unless Luka whips into 7-game shape, because those games get intense. It's a different level. Then you've got LeBron trying to push his 40-year-old body to the max. I don't know that they could get past the conference finals.
Okay, so you think that's their ceiling. Jody, what do you think? Do you think the Lakers can get out of the West, or are they maxed at the conference finals?
Who's saying they'll make it to the conference finals? I mean, a lot depends on the pairing where they end the season, but the one team that's always been an Achilles heel was always Denver. And now that AD is gone, you're talking about a front line in Denver that their shortest person is 6'9". Think about that for a second. Aaron Gordon, Joker, and freaking God, the other guy.
Michael Porter Jr.?
Yes. So think about that for a second. I mean, who you going to stick on one of those guys, like seriously? And do they have enough horses? And BJ made a great point that with that trade, with some of their depth, so you're going to have to either run up against a Denver team that's always had your number and they got big guys up front, or you're going to run into a much, much younger team in OKC who is still hungry from last year. So I don't know.
Do you guys think the Lakers would rather play the Thunder than the Nuggets, even though the Thunder have a much better record?
I think they'd rather play from a matchup standpoint. I think they're probably better off playing OKC.
Yeah, maybe use their experience versus the young guys,
right?
Versus SGA and company. And that's the prevailing theory, is that they'd be better off against them. And when you watch the paid talking heads, not the ones that do it for free like us, but the paid guys on ESPN, they seem to think too that maybe conference finals would be like that's their potential. But I mean, you look at this and they're not far off, and Vegas has odds for a reason. They're usually pretty good. The good fellas, they know what they're talking about. Let's transition over to the East a little bit and looking at this. The Celtics and the Cavs, it's pretty much the Celtics and the Cavs and everybody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
They played the other night. The Celtics went out, and I turned it off. I was folding some laundry. I turned on TNT or whatever the game was on. The Celtics came out and were raining threes and getting easy buckets, and it was 25-2. And I literally turned the game. I was like, I'm going to watch something else. This is stupid. And then I turned back later, and I see that the Cavaliers came back and won the game. So what do we think? Jody, we'll start with you. Do you like the Celtics in the East with all their experience, or do you like this new-look Cavs?
Can the Cavaliers do it over a 7-game series is the question, right? So Boston, they can give away one game here or there, but they're going to come back. I honestly think that's probably one of the deeper teams in the league, if not the deepest. Talk about Boston. Mm-hmm. So, we're talking about, and if everyone's healthy, I mean, when it comes to playoff time, you two know it's all about health. If you're healthy, you have a shot. And with these guys being back, going for a back-to-back championship, they got the tools. Because if you notice, they didn't lose anybody. It's not like the Lakers 2020 team that once they won that bubble championship, like half that team left or they didn't come back. This team stayed intact. So I'd say, Boston would win it in a 7-game series,
Yeah, I think they're very health dependent. Probably more with Porzingis than anybody else, because they're a different team with Porzingis, which also I believe Porzingis did not play the other night. I think him and Drew Holiday both didn't play, so
right.
They were missing 2/5 of their starters. But yeah, they've got the deepest team. They've got the best starting lineup. So there's a reason that they're at the number one odds there. BJ, what do you think? Do you think the Cavaliers have a shot at poking through and getting to the finals?
No, I think between you two, everything that needed to be said has been said. They're deep. They're together. They can grind it out over a 7-game series. I don't think many have a shot when you give them that many games.
Speaking of which, Blazers just took the Cavaliers to overtime as we speak.
Oh, really? Huh, interesting. Wonder if they have a hangover about that Celtics game. And the Celtics with Donovan Mitchell, he's kind of that B-tier superstar, and you really need an A-tier superstar. I struggle to think about the last time a team didn't have an A-tier superstar, and I feel like it was like the Rasheed Wallace Pistons that didn't have somebody who was on the forefront that won a championship. Who are you going to lean on when you need that bucket, or who are you going to lean on when you need that drive? And I just don't know if the Cavs, they just have like kind of this no-name team. I mean, they're not no-name. They've got good players, but they're all just up and coming. So, yeah, I don't know if it's going to be their time just yet. Speaking of some of the players now that are playing, we're getting closer to the end of the season. We start looking at the MVP race. This year it looks like SGA from OKC. It's a lot of letters there. As the front runner, scorer, just silky smooth. He's a fun player to watch. Joker up there in second. He's always there. Antetokounmpo always there. Jason Tatum will never win it because he's so boring. Nobody ever votes for him. And I don't know who played a joke on ESPN and put Karl Anthony Towns up there. But I saw one the other day that had those same top three. The fourth one was actually LeBron James based on how he was playing defense. And since Luka got there, his scoring is actually gone up because there's more eyes on Luka than there are him. Jody, if you had money to put down on it, what are you going to do here? Are you going to go with SGA or somebody else?
Well, speaking of Karl Anthony Towns, if you're talking about the cat from before Christmas, then yeah, I'd put him up there. But I'd say Shea. I mean, a lot of people said he should have won it last year. I understand that. It's hard though when it's almost like the numbers Joker's put up is almost like Westbrook-esque, where he's just kind of like, I got to average a triple-double. But I think, the SGA has something to prove. So I think he's going to end up winning it, but anything can happen. And I wish, what I wish they do when the season's, they should have that MVP award done, wrapped up before the playoffs. I don't like when they stretch that stuff out because then you start, whether they say it's a regular season award or not, you start seeing, playoff performances, and then some people might sway decisions the other way. I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, and I think Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has been the front runner since the beginning. I think there is some voter fatigue for some of these big guys, the Jokic, Antetokounmpo. Embiid cried until he won it last year. And now remember, there's the 65-game rule now, where you can't win an award unless you play 65 games. Bija, I'm going to ask you a two-part question here. Number one, who do you think's going to win? And two, what do you think about that 65-game stipulation where you can't get all NBA, you can't get any award unless you play 65?
So for the answer to the first question, I'm going to go with the Joker. I do like Shea a lot too. He is fun to watch. He is a great scorer. He's a pretty good two-way player. And I think he's pretty up there in steals. I think he's averaging a couple and change a game. But Jokic with a triple-double, the way he plays, the way he involves his team and gives them everything he's got and tries to make them better. I like him with Giannis a second. And I'm basically going on stats with Giannis, throwing him in there because he's still averaging 30 a game. 65 games in order to qualify for the award. I love it. I think that and we'll get into it later, but load management is starting to really take away from the enjoyment of watching the game. You could pay $300 for a Lakers ticket in the nosebleeds, and then LeBron's got a hangnail or his sore ankle that's sore for All-Star weekend, but is perfectly fine the next game he plays. I want to see these guys play night in and night out. And so I think 65 games, that's 2/3 of the season.
That's an acceptable number.
Mm-hmm.
Jody, what do you think about that? I think the consensus is that there should be a number. I think some people were saying, well, okay, it's 82 games, so really 60 is 3/4 of the season. Maybe 65 is too high. It doesn't really account for most injuries. Will take you out at least 10 games. What do you think about the 65 number, Jody?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and go rated R. This is what's going to spike our views right quick. I think the league now is a bunch of bitches, if you ask me, because and maybe I'm outdated myself. Maybe I'm old school, but what the hell is load management? When we grew up, it was like you play to win championships, not, like B just said, oh, I got a hangnail. No, man, you play to win, right? It's all about winning championships, being there for your teammate, not, well, I'm a rest until the playoffs. And then come to find out motherfuckers don't even get past the fucking second round. The hell is that? That fries me so much. And the players nowadays are getting paid more to play less. Blows my fucking mind. You know?
Jody, what do you think of a diagnosis of discomfort? Like, I don't think discomfort. I don't want to hear that word.
Discomfort is hemorrhoids. All right. So that's what discomfort is. That, I mean, seriously, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I'm like, dude, think about it. All of us, right, back in middle school, whatever, we dreamed about, man, I'd be cool to play in the NBA. And once you get there, you start being a retard. I know we can't use that word no more, but you start being a dumbass, right? I just don't get all these players with that much talent. Well, I don't want to hurt myself. I want to save myself for the playoffs. I'm like, seriously, dude? And some people want to do that stuff. They don't even make the playoffs, let alone get out of the second round. So, yeah, I agree. To get back to your actual question, I agree that, but the 65-game rule is like, man, the fact that we have to implement that now tells you all you need to know about how the league is going right now.
Yeah, it's really they're pushing on that because there are people sitting out when they shouldn't sit out, and I think it's a good rule. I could go anywhere from 60 to 65, but again, when I grew up, players played 80, 81 games if they were healthy, 82 sometimes. They just play the whole season. And I thought of it this way recently. I was like, well, why don't they just split their checks up into 82 games? And then if they have to sit, they just don't get paid that game. Maybe less people would sit.
Oh, yeah. Society is so fucking soft. The NBA All-Star game is weak. The Pro Bowl is basically flag football. I mean, it's just society is so weak.
Well, the Pro Bowl is flag football now. They don't even suit up anymore.
Right. It's like whatever, like it was fun for us growing up because you knew February was All-Star. All right, cool. And usually it fell around my birthday time. So it's kind of like I'm excited because now it was more about I'm gonna show my peers what I can do, or I get to play with this guy I've been going to, battle with all season. The first half of the season, I get to play with him and stuff. And now it's just basically just everybody. Now that it's basically what it is now is a halftime show with a game that happened to be there.
So now that we're off on the All-Star tangent, I kind of heard something that I liked after the NBA did their weird ass, okay, we're going to split up into 4 teams and we're going to play to 40 and whatever they did this year. And just, which God bless Adam Silver. He's trying, right? He's trying to make it interesting. He's trying to make it competitive. I heard one person say that they should do like what hockey does. And really the only time that you get really spicy anymore about basketball is like in the Olympics. Because for some reason, and you don't even have to be a America guy, but you watch the Olympics and you're like, oh God, don't lose to France. Or like, don't lose to Bulgaria or somebody like that. And so you really get that pride. Well, hockey goes USA versus the world. And it'd be interesting for now that the international game is so far into this that, if you did USA versus the world for the All-Star game, would that be more interesting? But then at that point, are you giving too many international players all-star votes that maybe like what if there's 12 Americans and 8 international players? Like how do you
there's enough people that can make that internet. I can just name Joker, Embiid, Giannis, Luka just to start with. And
SGA's from Canada. I mean, he plays for the Canada team. And so I'm just saying if there was 8 international players and 12 American players that deserve it in, you just ship off like a couple of the American players and be like, hey, guess what? You like speak Vietnamese now. You're an international player. And they just ship it off to the other side.
I've heard people try to do what Major League used to do was say, hey, whoever wins the All-Star game has home field advantage in the World Series. I've heard that before, although if you got the best freaking league, it won't mean a damn thing if your squad lost the All-Star game. So it's like, whatever. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, you got to do something because this ain't working right now. Sorry, it ain't.
Yeah, it's bad. And I think it's just there's so much money now on the floor that it's just like quarterbacks being protected by rules because that's the money position, and there's so much money on the floor that they don't want people to get hurt in an all-star game, or they don't want people to get hurt in the Pro Bowl, even though it's after the season's over. But like you said, it's a bunch of bitches. Boy, I hate to say bunch of bitches and move on to the women's game, but we're going to do that now.
I've never heard anybody from the WNBA load manage. I'll say that.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's a hell of a point because they're trying to make their ducats. Their shit's not guaranteed. Diana Taurasi is retiring 20 years. I'm going to throw this out here real quick. Do either of you, does she have any competition for the greatest player ever? Because in my mind, she doesn't. Is there competition for anyone else for the GOAT?
No, not really.
I mean, no names come to mind for me, and I know that like Cheryl Miller was a great player.
Tamika Catchings. Maya Moore won like four championships in 8 years with the Lynx. So, I mean, that's as close I think you can get.
It would be interesting had Cheryl Miller, if the league was around when Cheryl Miller was at her peak.
Mm-hmm.
She was just born in a different era where, when WNBA came in existence, she was like on her last legs.
Right.
And so she played a couple years, then she ended up being a coach. So it would have been interesting to see how that would have unfolded. But I mean, Taurasi, think about it. I mean, UConn national championship, 3-time WNBA finals, right? Championships, 6-time gold medalist. I mean, do we need to even like go any further? Like seriously, I mean, she done set the tone and raised the bar. Come get me if you want.
And the WNBA came in at an interesting time. Like Cheryl Swoops, Cynthia Cooper were a little bit older. They were great ball players. You look at this list that I put up here, and like you had mentioned, 6-time gold medalist, 3-time WNBA champion, twice the finals MVP, regular season MVP, leading scorer all time. Plays like
since 2017, she's held that leading scorer title.
Right, and just kept adding to it and adding to it and adding to it. This all-star, and then the 6-time gold medalist by itself is like you've played forever. And then the 3-time national champion. Now, I thought that maybe coming out of college, Breanna Stewart could challenge as the greatest player ever because she won 4, and she was young and getting into the Olympics, and she's still super young, so she's got a long career ahead of her.
Yeah.
I think the only person that could challenge right now eventually could be Caitlin Clark. With Caitlin Clark's numbers that she's going to put up, and she'll win some titles, and she never won. The problem is she never won in college. So
I'm just going to say Angel Reese because I've heard her coming after podcasters who don't say her name at least once a podcast. So Angel Reese.
Right.
Angel Reese has a meal at McDonald's, so Diana Taurasi can step the fuck off because Angel Reese has the barbecue bacon burger with some high C orange at McDonald's. And I'm just like, oh, no, that's very LSU.
I would have said before Taurasi started doing this, I would have said Lisa Leslie would have been like the GOAT. But, Diana, but then again, she never played 20 years though either. So, it's like Kareem, okay, I done played 20 years and 6-time MVP, that kind of thing. The game has changed so much though, because we say a lot of what ifs because there were years LeBron chose not to play for the Olympic team, What was the last one? 2020. I mean, that that pandemic year. I mean, that's when Dame was on the team, and it was just a weird USA team. But I know we're talking about Taurasi, but all the greats that play the game. I mean, it started with the 3 faces of the league: Swoops, Lisa Leslie, Rebecca Lobo. That they were like the charter members for this league that got up, and then the first ever dynasty was the Comets, right? Which is weird because they don't exist anymore. Which that was weird, but
Well, yeah, and when they started, it was just like when NBA started, when the men started, it started as a big man's league, right? So back in the day when you had Mikan and Russell and Chamberlain and all those guys, and now it's transitioned to the skills. The women were the same way because when they started, in the 90s or whatever, that was the big man's era of the 80s. You're coming out with Akeem Olajuwon and Patrick Ewing and all those guys. So yeah, Rebecca Lobo, Lisa Leslie, Tina Charles, that was a big man's league, and now they've kind of transitioned.
Kara Walters.
Oh yeah, that's old school from Tennessee. Yeah, so they've transitioned away to it. And now they're starting to get more of the Sabrina Ionescu and the Caitlin Clarks, and they're getting a little bit more of the skills. So women's basketball is actually becoming more entertaining, and I enjoy I enjoy all of the Angel Reese stuff. The TikToks that are made on her missing lay-ins are some of the funniest things I've ever seen. Or she made a deal with Reese's cereal. So she's on the box of Reese's cereal, and people are at the grocery store and they try and toss it into their cart and it comes up short. So they rebound it, they toss it again and it comes up short. And so it's just pretty funny. But yeah, I don't think there's a doubt that Taurasi is the GOAT.
I love Kelsey Plum.
Yeah, Kelsey Plum, she got traded this offseason. She's on LA now.
Yeah.
She's off the Sparks, and she's on the Sparks. She's off the Aces.
Yeah.
One thing I kind of wanted to circle back to, and we'll put that to rest. With Diana Taurasi, she's the GOAT. God bless. Great job. Fun to watch. I wanted to circle back to this, and I know we're going to go to the Fab Five here real quick, but I'm going to throw in a bonus Fab Five today for you because, and I didn't tell you guys about this, so this is kind of coming off the cuff.
Are we playing that game where you got to answer? Oh,
yeah, that's what the Fab Five is the 5 questions, but this is the bonus. So when we were talking about Luka and LeBron, I started thinking about 2-on-2. So I started thinking about NBA Jam. Okay. And we were all in the era where you'd go to the video arcade and play NBA Jam. And then God bless them, they were able to put it on, Sega and Super NES, and you were able to play at home and you were able to be on fire and this and this and that. So I don't care if it's the original roster or not. What was your go-to? We'll start with Big Mixx. What was your go-to NBA Jam duo, or do you just remember one that was very memorable?
Oh God, they had Jordan and Pippen, but I always liked. I think Stockton and Malone was a good matchup on that one. You had the speed and the power.
I wanted to say real quick. Yes, they had Jordan and Pippen, but I actually read it was when I thought of this earlier today. I read an article on the original NBA Jam, and it was made with the 1994 rosters when Jordan was playing baseball, and it was Pippen and Horace Grant were the original two. And then,
yeah, really came out that year.
Yeah, so in the original rosters, it was Pippen and Horace Grant, and then they didn't have Jordan in there, and then Jordan was eventually put in there. So yeah, Pippen and Jordan was the obvious choice, but Stockton and Malone, of course, is another great choice. Jody, what do you remember, or who was your favorite duo to be on that?
Oh, it was the Blazers, Drexler and Terry Porter.
So Drexler, I was in the article I was reading, is Drexler and Terry Porter were a favorite one too, because you had to be able to hit threes and you had to have at least one person that was a good dunker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Porter would steal, alley-oop to Drexler, he'd dunk from away or whatever. But I always thought that came out in the early, 92 or something like that, because that's when Portland was real good. They went that 3-year window where they went to the Western Conference Finals three of those years and went to the finals 2 of those years. So
now this one that I'm reading, I think that might have been the Super NES and Genesis version, because the original came out arcade first. And so you go up to the Tilt at Lloyd Center and go ahead and play some video games. But I think this was the home version, was the one that didn't have Jordan and Pippen. We had Horace Grant. I'm looking at the article right now. and they ranked all of the duos from the original, and I think it is the home version here. And they ranked number 1 Indiana Pacers with Reggie Miller and Detlef Schrempf as the number 1.
Because they both can shoot threes.
They both could shoot threes, and were both dunkable. Now, Malone and Stockton came in second. You know,
don't say Ron Harper like how play Williams.
No, but I'll go to the back three in a minute because it's pretty funny.
What about the Jets? Or I mean, not the Jets. The Nets. Because they have Drazen on there.
Let me see here real quick. So they have Kemp and Peyton were next. Barkley and Dan Marley were fourth. And then my personal favorite, because you guys know I love the Hawks, Dominique and Stacey Augmon. I loved that duo. So let's go down here. Golden State, Tim Hardaway and Chris Mullin.
Really? I thought they would have had like Larry Smith and like Terry Teagle.
Well, yeah. And again, this one, by the time they got there, I remember they had a version with Latrell Sprewell too. And maybe Latrell Sprewell and Mario Elie, I think, down the line a little bit.
He had that choke move.
Went right over to the coach and choked him. You're on fire. But some of these I look at and I go, the New York Knicks, why did they do Patrick Ewing and Charles Oakley? Like, can I get John Starks or Derek Harper or somebody like that?
Hey, do you remember though? What year is that where you can pick a team, your duo, but then you could also hit the other button and it gave you a substitute.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you had 3 players you could choose from.
Yeah,
and you could choose that. And so, as I roll down here, I mean, there's some really good ones. The New Jersey Nets, by the way, good call because I mean, how long did Petrovich played? Like 2 years there before he died.
I remember him on the game because he was another one. Him and Scott Skiles in Orlando were my backup 3-point shooters.
Yeah, they had Scott Skiles on Orlando with Shaquille O'Neal, and it's like, what? Okay, whatever. And I guess Penny Hardaway, whatever. So the New Jersey Nets, any guesses to who was with Drazen Petrovic at this time?
I'd say Derek Coleman.
DC.
Wow, Derek Coleman. Yeah, good for both of you. That was a quick one. San Antonio, David Robinson, and Sean Elliott. There was some really good teams, but let me just go to the back and before we get too deep into this.
How about this? Hey, BJ, have Jeremy give us a team and then we'll try to guess the players.
Okay.
Let me give you the last one though. I got to give you the last team because you'll never get it anyway.
Okay.
The worst ranked team on here is the Milwaukee Bucks. Okay. Brad Lowhouse and Blue Edwards were on there. How did Brad Lowhouse make NBA Jam? Like, who was he sleeping with at EA that he got on there?
Was he the only center they had?
Was D Brown on that squad too? Or no, that was Boston. Never mind.
Well, I'm wondering if they're like, when was Ricky Pierce there, or when was Alvin Robertson there, or they had some good players go through there.
I think Pierce by that point was with the Sonics. Yeah,
Pierce was at the Sonics when they lost to the Bulls in '96. I know, but I don't know. Again, this is probably just a little before that. But all right, let me give you a couple of them. Let's play that game real quick. Let's give you a couple of them here, and I'm going to give you a couple hints because otherwise it'd be too hard. So this is after the Barkley trade, okay? After Barkley was traded from Philly to Phoenix. Mm-hmm. Who was on the Philadelphia 76ers?
I know who it is, but go ahead, BJ.
Do you know both of them?
I know one of them.
On the Sixers?
What's one of them?
Yeah. Dana Barros?
Nope.
Oh,
no,
wow.
It was because this is
this was after the trade. Who did Barkley get traded for?
Hornacek.
Hornacek. Yeah, Big Mix called it. Hornacek.
It was Hornacek.
So Hornacek was one.
In 93?
Was the other?
He's a guard.
Hersey Hawkins?
It is Hersey Hawkins. Jesus Christ.
It's the only
throwback
other
time
guy I
machine
could
for
think
you.
of.
Yeah, no, I like the Tim Perry though. That was a good call. Let me get a couple of them here that might be a little bit. I don't want to say easier, but okay. So everybody had some sort of Charlotte Hornets gear, right? In the 90s. You had a hat or a jacket or a something. If you were a
Starter.
sports team, you had something Charlotte Hornets. I think I had a Trapper Keeper that was Charlotte Hornets. Who do you think was on the Charlotte Hornets at this time, early 90s?
Well, there's only two that you could put on there.
But you
Oh,
gotta
no,
have
there's
a
not,
one.
sir. It's not the two that you think it is.
If you're saying it's not Morning LJ, I'm gonna say Del Curry or Muggsy Bogues.
So LJ is one of them. It's the other's not Morning though.
I'll say Muggsy
LJ.
or Del Curry.
Yeah, LJ's the first one. Larry Johnson, but it's not Del Curry and it's not Muggsy Bogues and it's not Alonzo Mournings. Think of swingman, more of a defensive stopper and athlete, like a 3D type guy.
Johnny
the
Newman.
man with the box, Kendall Gill.
There you go. It is Kendall Gill. Good call. Come on, Jody. You named your kid Kendall.
Not after him though.
All right, we'll do one more. We'll do one more just for funsies. Oh, here's a real easy one. Okay, we'll have Jody go first, and then BJ, you go second. Okay.
Right.
San Antonio Spurs.
Ooh.
Think offense. Couple good offensive players.
The Admiral.
Okay.
You gotta have the face.
BJ.
San Antonio.
Are they both offense? Didn't we just talk about that one though? We kind of already said that one. Yeah,
David
you
Robinson and who else?
Sean Elliott?
Yep, there you go. So yeah.
We just talked about that. Give us another one.
Okay. Since you guys are having so much fun with this one. Oh no. I'm not going to give you the Mavericks because that's Derek Harper and Mike Izzolino.
Oh, God.
Mike Izzolino on the game.
He's someone's nephew.
How about this one? Oh, here's a great one. This is fantastic. Minnesota Timberwolves.
Oh, geez.
You said early or mid 90s?
This is mid 90s. This would be about 93, 94.
I want to say that might have been before Garnett, but he might have been there too.
This is before Garnett.
Leitner? Was he on there?
Leitner's one.
Don't say Tony Campbell.
No, this is a guy that you played like, Jody, up at Madeline. He fired from the red line.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Chuck Person.
There it is. Chuck Person. Yeah, so that's a fun game. I think I need to turn NBA Jam into one of the Kahoots and do that. So, no, that's fun. A total tangent and not something that we had planned on. So sorry for the 12 viewers, but we kind of rolled off the bed on that one for a little bit. But we're back. All right.
Just one small thing. Can you imagine what Auburn University was like? At one point, they had Barkley, Chuck Person, Bo Jackson, Frank Thomas at school at one point. Can you imagine that?
Their athletics had to be fun. Like their AD had to have a good time there because they were tough. Yeah. They were really, really tough. And you think you had Bo Jackson there, who is, and this would be an argument for another day, but maybe the greatest athlete who's ever walked this earth. Like he would have been fun. All right, let's go to the Fab Five today. We'll few to get to know you, and we'll get you guys on this. First question of the day. We'll start with BJ.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dump. So, is it still okay to listen to Michael Jackson, R. Kelly, and P. Diddy songs? Is like if you're rolling around and that stuff comes on, do you pump it or do you shuffle to the next song?
You know, it's not. None of these artists are really in my regular playlist anyway, so I don't have to worry about it. But I feel like it's been long enough that you can get away with some Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Okay, so
Mr. Daddy, no, not right now. You just
Too
want to
new?
ignore that. It's too fresh. It's a slippery slope.
yeah. Well, what about the urinator, R. Kelly?
Urinator, still, I don't know. Still think it's a little too soon.
And the reason I actually thought of this question is Aria was over the other day and had never seen Space Jam. So we're watching Space Jam, and I Believe I Can Fly comes on at the end. And I'm like, is that still okay? I don't know. It's been a while, but
She doesn't know.
no, but
Which
I
is
like how you
funny 'cause-
compartmentalize them. I like how you do that. So Jody, what do you think? What's your opinion on these guys?
Well, it's funny 'cause you said Space Jam and R. Kelly. Didn't MJ have a song on that soundtrack too?
He had a song called Jam.
Yeah, that was that on. That was on.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
That's a rough time for Michael Jordan. I mean, that's a bad company you're keeping there.
It's rough because I think of the three guys we're talking about, MJ gets a pass for whatever reason. But his songs were like flawless. I'm sorry, but
is it because he was the most talented? Is that why he gets the pass, or is it because he's the oldest?
Maybe it's because of the fact that it doesn't matter when you're a kid, young, old, whatever. He was throwing out jams, and every generation can jam to. R. Kelly would throw out some shit that's fucking like, all right, man, should you be in a porn or like a fucking strip club?
The closet.
He had a few jams, but if you listen to the lyrics, it's like, I don't, because of what he did, I don't listen to it no more. You know, Diddy is like, he's on his way to fucking, whatever. It's just weird.
Yeah. I don't discriminate. I really compartmentalize. I mean, I'll listen to any of them because I don't care. I mean, if Puff Daddy comes on with a Biggie, I'm playing it because that was our era. If R. Kelly, if Ignition comes on, I'm pumping that because I mean that's the jam, right?
Are you jamming Rock With You on MJ or 12 Play?
Michael, the Michael Jackson stuff, I really, if anything's on the playlist, it's probably more Thriller type stuff. Maybe even a little B-side stuff, maybe a little stuff from like Dirty Diana or Speed Demon, something from the Bad album. I really like some of his stuff that didn't get as much airplay. But yeah, I think that, and I asked this question of my wife earlier, and she compartmentalized it and said Michael Jackson and R. Kelly are okay, but Puff Daddy, like you got to draw the line, like child molestation and peeing. Okay, it's not on tape. There's no video. Puff Daddy.
Well, there is that bit of him punching that girl out of the elevator, so that kind of.
Yeah, well,
that's bad.
Yeah, I think most R. Kelly songs anyway. I mean, you remind me of my Jeep. I don't know that. Like you said, the lyrics aren't even that great. So Michael Jackson, superstar, iconic, probably the best entertainer ever. So we give him the pass. All right, let's move on from that one. That's a little depressing. We don't want to talk about human trafficking too much.
No.
Okay, we'll start with BJ on this one here. What's this called? What's this drink called?
So I was thinking about this, and it's interchangeable as long as hot is in the name. So it's either hot chocolate or hot cocoa.
Okay. Jody, what would you call this? Somebody whips this out at a party and you're 9 years old. What would you call this?
If I'm 9, it's hot cocoa.
Okay. Well, now that you're, 49, what is it?
Well, I'm Chocolate Thunder, so I'm going to call it hot chocolate. So,
yeah, you are hot chocolate, Jody. That should be your real nickname. So, yeah.
But not hot chocolate thunder. Does that bring to mind other?
That's like an Urban Dictionary thing, I think.
It's weird because, but my wife hates Becky. She can't stand because a few guys will jab at me and say, oh, here comes sexual chocolate. She hates that.
Why? It wasn't Sexual Chocolate from Coming to America. Wasn't that the name of the guy's band?
It was, yeah. But she was thinks it's the grossest thing ever. So I find it funny, but
you should next time if you know that's going to happen, just bring a Jerry curl wig and start singing the song from Coming to America. And he's like, "You can't take away my dignity."
You just wear a blue suit.
Yeah, you can be Sexual Chocolate. Okay, so yeah, Cocoa, hot chocolate. That was the question. Do we call that cocoa or hot chocolate? I think we're going to go with hot chocolate on that. All right, Jody, we're going to start with you. The zombie apocalypse hits. There's dead people everywhere. You're trying to fight your way through them. What's your go-to zombie apocalypse weapon?
So, well, first of all, what's the bottom row? I see vehicles.
Well, disregard the vehicles, disregard those last two columns on the bottom. We're focused on, do you like the handgun? Do you like the rifle? Do you like the baseball bat? The katana blade is a big one, the hatchet. What are you going with for the zombie apocalypse?
I like the blade because you can still carry it, where sometimes you got to have that thing on your shoulder. That's probably not light. You don't have to reload with a hatchet or whatever.
Right, and that's why melee weapons they're real popular with the people who talk about stuff like this, because you'll never run out of bullets with a hatchet or a baseball bat or a blade. But a gun is a hell of a lot more effective if you can have bullets. So you're going to go with the katana sword? Yeah,
I mean, who's to say? Some of these bullets probably won't do anything to these fucking zombie. If I crack you over the head with a sledgehammer, I bet he go down.
BJ, what do you think? What's your go-to zombie apocalypse weapon?
Well, this is a very interesting question because you have different scenarios. You got your long range, you got your short range, you got your mob zombie attack, and you got your solos. If you're only going to get one weapon, I would go with a machete. I think you can use that for all sorts of other things, and it'll go through limbs and stuff. So it's got some meat behind it. Mm-hmm. But second choice would be probably a handgun with a common caliber ammunition, like 9mm.
So you can find it anywhere you're rummaging.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the katana sword, but I think machete is probably a better choice if you have to hack through jungles or trees or do whatever, because you still have to survive. But and again, another popular choice. So I was talking to Casey about this. She would go with the baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire, like Negan from Walking Dead.
Well, Mick Foley,
you're gonna get hung up on some zombie clothes.
What's that? Oh,
I don't like the barbed wire because you could end up getting stuck to them.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. See,
now you set that bitch on fire.
Yeah,
we ask the hard questions here. All right, BJ, you're gonna go first. This is pretty simple, straightforward. Who's your favorite superhero and why? What about them appeals to you?
I've always been drawn to the Batman. He's real smart. And he's real fucked up mentally and emotionally, which makes for some really, really twisted, dark stories. I know he doesn't have any flashy powers or anything, but I like his sort of almost anti-hero status.
Yeah, and you like the dark Batman, and of course, there's been hundreds of iterations of Batman, but
yeah,
I think you're referring to the Batman that will kill bad people and will torture them and is really, really haunted and just mentally insane.
Yeah, it never was the same after his parents got murdered. It's taking it out on the world.
Yeah, but at the same time, he's like an idiot savant because he's still really smart. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Batman's a popular choice. Jody, who's your favorite superhero?
Is it me or is it divided up where DC's on one side and Marvel's on the other? Is that how they did that purposely?
Well, I think it was just a picture that I downloaded. Yeah, I had DC and Marvel. But we're including all of the universes here. I don't even know who some of these guys are. I don't even know who that guy in the upper left is. He looks like he's from the WWF cartoon.
He looks like that dude from Street Fighter.
Yeah, Zangief.
Russian dude?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple of these that I don't know who the hell they are, but
my favorite character is not even on there, so it's like whatever.
Well, that's okay. You don't have to pick from the page. Who's your favorite superhero?
The Hulk.
Oh, okay. Well, She-Hulk's on there.
Yeah, but
you like the Hulk?
Against her, but man, how do you not have the Hulk on there? Sorry.
Oh yeah. Well, this like I said, this may have been from a specific comic book or something specific that they were doing. But you're down with the Hulk. You like the big Hulk, just get mad and smash everything and just destroy.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, Hulk, not a bad choice at all. And then I guess it also depends on, maybe I should have, the next question will kind of frame this a little bit better, because I see like Green Arrow on here, who's not a superhero. Batman technically isn't a superhero. But there's a lot of good choices. So let's go to the last one here. So this one's going to be non-superhero. Can't choose a superhero, but it has to be a fictional character. So somebody made up through TV, movie, books, whatever. So you get into a bar fight. What like non-superhero would you want to have your back in the bar fight, BJ?
This guy named Shenzhen. He is a character in a Fist of Fury.
Okay, nice.
Played by Bruce Lee.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I thought of this. I go, okay, can you say Bruce Lee? But then I say non-fictional. But I guess you could just choose one of his characters, and make him a badass. So yeah, Bruce Lee, probably not too bad to have in a bar fight. You're probably winning most of those. Jody, if you're in a bar fight, who do you think? Non-superhero.
Somebody in their prime?
Wherever, yeah, anytime.
I'd probably say B.A. Baracus.
Okay. What's funny about that is you're picking somebody who would get into a bar fight. Like, that's a fictional character that is like constantly bar fight. So I thought of that too when I thought of the question. I go, I'm going to go with the Punisher, because he's probably been in a few bar fights. But yeah, B.A. Baracus, that's not a bad one at all. For those who don't know, A-Team, Mr. T, just a brawler. So that's a great choice. Well, all right. We've limped through another edition of the Aggregate here, and gotten that out. The the Fab Five was definitely a little bit goofy today, but I think we saved it with the NBA Jam, with the NBA Jam stuff. So, all right. Anything else before we go, guys?
I thought it was funny when you say Fab Five, and of course, the first thing I think of is the Michigan Fab Five, and lo and behold, the two that actually stayed all 4 years didn't do a damn thing in the NBA. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, because the other ones that had talent, they were like, "We're out of here. We're going to make some money." They didn't have NIL back then.
I'm gonna make some money. I took some while I was at it. I'm out.
Oh yeah, they were making money on the side, but not like now. I mean, imagine those guys playing now. How much NIL money they would have?
Oh yeah.
As popular as they were in college, they wouldn't even go to the league. They would stay in college.
Nobody wore baggy shorts. Nobody wore black socks until they came around. So,
yeah, I was watching on ESPN the other day. People talk about nobody wore the baggy shorts, and then all of a sudden, Brandon Jennings got drafted, and his shorts went down to like his ankles. Like he literally looked like Aladdin when he played.
He kind of took it to another level. I'm sure somebody was like going, "Bro, can I have my shorts back?"
Yeah. And so Shaquille O'Neal taking his shorts back. So yeah. BJ, anything else before we sign off in the world of sports that you'd like to talk about?
No, I just want to remind everybody to try and be kind to one another and find some joy in this world, even if it's a little bit.
Nice. I like that sign off. I think we should all get our own signature sign offs from now on. Is just like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures, like, be excellent to one another.
That's right.
All right. Well, for the Aggregate, I'm going to sign off for Chocolate Thunder, Jody Williams, Big Mixx, BJ McDonald. You guys have a great night. We'll see you next time.